Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Slegaitis-Smith and this is a channel where we like to talk about writing, learning, and creating. And today is another writing video where we are digging back into that delicious character building, where today we're going to be talking about some key facets to consider when you are building the personality of your character. So a few of the key facets of building your character that we've already talked about includes the strengths and weaknesses of our characters. We already talked about how we can have both over-the-top and mundane characteristics that are strengths and weaknesses. We don't need to go crazy drama Hollywood all the time, but some level of drama is a healthy part of building a character and a narrative. We're going to move right along into some other key aspects of character building. A character's soft spot can be an important part of their personality. Now, soft spots are not strengths, they are not weaknesses. They can be positive or negative. It just depends on how you want to craft your character and how you want to apply the soft spot, in particular to what level it plays out in your plot. So a good example of a soft spot is you have that big macho tough guy who everybody thinks is going to be this stoic hard rock, but then he loves puppies and there is a puppy in front of him and he is going to gush and squeal and be absolutely in love with this puppy, wanting to touch this puppy and spend time with this puppy because, oh my goodness, it's a puppy. And it doesn't seem like it's a normal part of his character, but it's his soft spot. He sees that puppy and he just wants to love on it with the entirety of his being. It's not a strength, it's not a weakness, it's just a part of who he is. Now, this can play a huge role in a plot if you, for say, put that puppy's life in danger. What are they going to do to save their puppy because it is a soft spot, or a puppy? It doesn't have to be theirs, it's their soft spot. Or it could be a really negative thing where there is something very traumatic that happened to them in their past and things that remind them of that traumatic experience re-traumatize them. It puts them back into a place of panic, fear, pain, sadness, you name it. It puts them in a very negative place because that was their soft spot. In that way, soft spots can sometimes act as a weakness, but they don't have to be. So we kind of touched on it a little bit already, but where soft spots are important for building into the personality of your character is that it can play a major or a minor role in the narrative of your story, depending on how you decide to wrap it into your different plot elements. So in our first example of the big brute who loves the puppies, you can make it a more significant part of the story by having them have to make a choice between saving the puppy or doing something else that's more on task for their mission. And in that way, it could be a very interesting or a very necessary part of the plot, or it can just be something that you keep as a little tidbit for yourself. Either way, it works, but if you are going to incorporate the soft spot into the actual narrative, it must serve a function and help to move the plot forward. Another personality aspect that is often overlooked and therefore not always applied very well is what role your character would play in the found family. So the found family is kind of a topic all on its own, but to shorten it down into a tiny little snippet, most people who write stories have some element of found family involved, where it is that group of people that you are hanging out with, you build these close ties with, because you are moving towards the same goal on the same purpose for. So you can name almost any story out there. If there is a group of people who are working together towards a goal versus one solitary person, you're probably going to be doing some level of found family dynamic. So in the found family type relationship, usually it's talking about like a nuclear standard type of family where there's like a mom type person, there's a dad type person, brother type person, sister type person, and then depending on like how large of a group there is, there's like uncles and aunts and all this other stuff. So there are people who will acknowledge that they're a part of a found family group and they'll actually be like, you're the mom of the group or whatever. Or they won't acknowledge it, but it's still going to be a dynamic that is playing around in the background. And that's where people tend to forget that it actually is applying in the circumstances, regardless of whether or not they intended it to. Because the closer your characters get together, the more they are going to start acting like a family, and that's what found family really is all about. So what kind of role would your character fall into as in a found family type situation? Are they going to be the super responsible person who is trying to take care of everybody's needs and therefore falling into a mom or dad type role? Are they going to be taking responsibility and caring for people, but are like one step removed from that and therefore like an aunt uncle type role? Are they going to be really pally and hanging around with different characters and more of a brother sister or brother brother or sister sister type role? Regardless of what it is, put some thought into it so that you can actually apply it with purpose to your story. The last one we're going to cover for this video is what I'm going to call energy dynamics. I don't know if there's an actual term out there for it. I guess I need to research it more, but I'm going to call it energy dynamics, where usually people are not going to stay in one single space. They are going to have some fluidity, some back and forth in their personalities to an extent as far as where their energy is. And when I'm talking about energy, I'm not necessarily talking about physical energy or emotional energy, but I'm kind of talking about both of them at the same time, where everybody has like a certain amount of physical energy that they bring into the day with them, and they have a certain amount of mental or emotional energy that they bring in to the day with them. And then depending on the events that happen over the course of that day, depends on what is going to bring those energy levels down. They're not always going to go down together. There might be a lot more physical energy than they have emotional energy that day, and etc. And building in those balances to your character and to your story can be another great way to build in that extra layer to your plot. The easiest way that I can narrow this down for you so that you understand what I'm talking about with a term that I'm kind of just using is to talk about like introverted people versus extroverted people, because it's kind of more well known. So extroverted people are people who get energy from being around other people. This means that their default is that they want to be in larger groups because they gain energy from doing that. They are still going to want their alone time, but their energy levels are going to go down when they are alone more than when they're with other people. And if they're with other people, those batteries are going to get recharged. And the same thing for introverts. They get their energy from being alone. So their alone time is precious to them, but is not the only thing they want. They still want to hang out with other people. It's just going to drain their energy more. And think about it in your personal life. There are certain people that you find draining to be around and certain people that you find energizing to be around. Where if you are hanging out with your best friend, they are usually the energizer in your life. You want to be around them because you just feel more alive when you're with them. You feel more happy, you feel more energetic. It is a good thing. And they are building that energy up for you. They might be building up a physical energy, or they might just be building up your emotional energy, because some friends like to stay up all night, so your physical energy might be in the bottom because you're up at 2 a.m., but your emotional energy is up at peak because you're enjoying the person who you're with. Or maybe there's someone who you really don't like being around and they are just a constant drain on your physical or emotional energy. So when you are applying this concept to your character, what you are going to be thinking about are what are the things that would be bringing energy into your character physically or emotionally. And how are those dynamics going to shift depending on being in a group, not being in a group, people who they are with, activities that they are doing. I mean, think about any type of high stress job. Like, people like to write stories about being the president. Being the president is a very taxing job emotionally and physically. I mean, there's a reason why most presidents come out of the presidency with hair much whiter than when they went in, regardless of the fact that they didn't actually age technically that much linearly, time-wise, you know. So based off of the activities that they had to engage in over the course of the presidency, they have had so much drain on their energy that it has caused a physical change within themselves. You can put those exact types of scenarios in front of your characters, and therefore understanding your character's energy dynamics are very important and can play a significant role in your story. So in this video, we talked just about a very few personality aspects that might actually be having a significant impact on your character if you apply them properly. If you have other ones, because there are certainly other ones out there that you know of or want to discuss, leave those in the comment section below. It would be a really fun conversation to have and to continue with. Other than that, please consider sharing, and subscribing this video, and definitely have a great one until the next one.